Tonight, trail of tragedy. An elderly couple killed as a runaway truck ploughs into their home in Western Victoria. A former Melbourne Victory coach jailed for raping a woman he met on a dating app. Bonus payments not enough to stop Qantas workers storming off the job. A bombshell twist in the Menendez brothers' legal fight, why they could be freed from jail. How a plucky Victorian teenager convinced music superstars to play at his high school formal after party. And a new honour for Spin King Shane Warne, right in the heart of St Kilda.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Rebecca Maddern.
Good evening. A tiny town in Western Victoria has been shaken by a freak tragedy after an elderly couple was killed when an out-of-control truck ploughed into their bedroom. The husband and wife dairy farmers stood no chance when the truckie veered off a highway straight into their Tower Hill home.
A bedroom obliterated, 2 lives gone with it. The truck that caused the destruction left the road 250 metres away. It barely slowed as it tracked through a paddock, then a fence, and finally into this home, where a married couple were about to begin their day. Jim and Carmel Maddern, 81 and 80 years old, well known and much loved around the town of Koroit, near Warrnambool.
It's been a huge, sad, horrible day for the town. Community-minded people been anything that goes on here, he's been a part and she's been a part of.
Locals knew something bad had happened because of the extent of the emergency response.
To me, it was something extremely serious. When I could hear it all happening.
Nothing could be done for the Madderns. The truck driver was taken to hospital where he's in a stable condition. The 70-year-old is assisting police.
It's a pretty dead straight road. There's no reason for vehicles to swerve.
Police say they don't believe speeding is an issue. Their investigation will focus on how the truck swerved off the road and how it travelled so far without slowing down.
We're keeping an open mind as to what was going on, whether it's a mechanical fault with the truck, whether there's a medical episode involved.
Whatever the cause, it's likely to be little comfort for the town.
I'm sure there'll be a lot of people in here celebrating or cruising or crying, whatever.
Yeah.
They'll be sadly missed.
Rory Campbell, 7 News.
A former Melbourne Victory coach has been jailed for raping a woman he met on a dating app. The French national taunted his victim before laughing about the crime in a series of text messages.
On the field, he was a leader to the young women he coached and mentored. Off the field, he was the man behind a sickening rape. You treated the complainant as an object. For a person who has been so supportive of women in the sporting world, it is appalling. Frenchman Sébastien Bouchard wiped away tears as he was sentenced to a minimum of 20 months behind bars. The former Melbourne Victory coach pinned the woman down on a bed and raped her after meeting her on dating app Hinge in early 2021. The 35-year-old laughed about the assault in a text exchange in the days that followed. "Lol, giving me your legs is consent. I screamed stop and you wouldn't listen. It was only a few minutes. Come on, that's rough sex with a strong man, baby."
The victim faced her attacker in court and said he treated her like an animal. She spent years seeking help but remains traumatised by the incident and has difficulty trusting other men.
"I was a vehicle for sexual pleasure that a man could feel entitled to despite my feelings of fear and pain." Promoted to his dream gig of goalkeeping coach of the women's A-League side, Bouchard was sacked by Victory once charges were laid. He spent much of his time in solitary confinement in jail after he was threatened by a fellow prisoner. He'll be deported once he's released. Rochelle Brown, 7 News.
A man accused of shooting at police is recovering in hospital after a tense standoff in the state's southeast. The 56-year-old was arrested late yesterday after shots were fired at detectives on a property in Dumbalk North. It's understood the former ADF Air Force member was shot in the arm before allegedly evading officers. He was flown to hospital under police guard and is awaiting surgery. No officers were hurt. The life of a promising Melbourne pilot has been cut tragically short just weeks before his 21st birthday. Jack Miller died in a light plane crash near Bacchus Marsh on Tuesday as his big sister remembers a young man who had the world at his feet.
Jack Miller was a passionate young pilot, but on Tuesday the 20-year-old was killed doing what he loved most.
The thing that I think about most is I know that he was living his dream. He was so happy.
Just minutes after takeoff, the light aircraft crashed into a paddock near Bacchus Marsh.
I can't come to terms with it yet, and I don't really want to.
Today, his sister paid tribute to her best friend.
He was just such a effortlessly authentic, caring, kind-hearted brother, friend, son. He's just my hero. Like, I can't believe how lucky I am to have such an amazing brother.
Jack became a pilot at the start of the year, an achievement his family celebrated.
He just loved planes, flying and just everything about it. He worked really hard to get there. He loved it. He was passionate.
The 32-year-old says right now she feels numb, but knows the reality will soon hit home.
5 weeks from now it would be 21.
The Australian Transport Safety Bureau has already started its investigation using flight data, site mapping, aircraft and pilot records to determine what caused the crash.
Whatever the cause, whatever's happened, doesn't change the outcome. We still don't have him, and nothing will ever fix the place that he had in our lives.
Cassie Zervos, 7 News.
Polling booths have just closed in Victoria's council elections. Nick McCallum has the latest from Town Hall. Hello, Nick. It's been a hotly contested race to become Melbourne Lord Mayor.
It certainly has, Beck. For your vote to count in any of the 78 Victorian council elections, you had to have your vote in the mail or dropped off at a local electoral commission office by 6 o'clock tonight. Now, that's about 6 minutes ago. But there's plenty of evidence from these pictures at Moonee Ponds that a lot of people have left it to the last minute. There are long queues. It's unclear now the deadline has passed whether any of these people will get their votes in and they will be counted. Now, the Victorian Electoral Commission says for your vote to count, it must arrive at their offices by midday on Friday. They expect to announce results between the 4th and the 15th of November. In the big one, the election for Melbourne's Lord Mayor, it's a two-horse race between the incumbent Nick Rees and also the former Deputy Lord Mayor Aaron Wood. But there is a wild card, AFL legend Anthony Koutoufides. Officials we spoke to today expect it to be very tight, to be decided on preferences. But with 11 separate candidates for Lord Mayor, those preferences will be very unpredictable. We'll have a result though, Beck, within 3 weeks, a nerve-wracking time for all council candidates.
Indeed. Nick McCallum reporting live. Thank you. Qantas announced a one-off cash bonus for staff just as maintenance workers rallied in coordinated strikes across the country. Their union took the fight to the airline's board outside of volatile AGM in Hobart.
Outside the meeting, union loudspeakers were barking.
Union! Union!
Inside, shareholders were biting.
I feel the ghost of Alan Joyce in the room. People like me are almost cheering for Qatar to become a viable competitor to Qantas.
New chairman John Mullen says the airline is gradually changing direction.
We have a new CEO in Vanessa, and we have a largely new management team.
A new team that's just approved $1,000 bonuses for every non-executive Qantas employee, including engineers on strike again today, gathering at airports around the country.
Bonuses are a one-off. They don't pay the bills. They don't really lift your head above water in the cost of living crisis, which we are in the middle of.
The airline announced new economy seats on some ageing Airbus A330s and will open its new Classic Plus rewards program to domestic flights.
Members will have access to more than 20 million reward seats.
Shareholders last year voted overwhelmingly against the executive pay plan. That anger seems to have subsided somewhat. This year, shareholders voted 85% in favour. Vanessa Hudson took home more than $4 million. A 3% increase to her base pay was approved, plus a share package based on performance. Dividends for all shareholders will be paid next year.
I believe that Vanessa Hudson will be the best CEO that Qantas has had in history.
The Flying Kangaroo is more composed about competition.
Qantas is not opposed to Qatar buying into Virgin.
But there's still work to be done.
But we must also make sure that we get the basics right along the way.
In Hobart, Blake Johnson, 7 News.
50 residents in Melbourne's northwest were forced to evacuate after a suspicious early morning fire took hold. Smoke was pouring out of an Italian restaurant on the ground floor just after 2:30 a.m.
The alarm went off in the roof and it said evacuate, and I thought, here we go again, it's going to be a fake alarm. Just anxious to get back in the apartment. You know, a lot of people went over to Macca's to get warm because it was freezing outside at that time in the morning.
It took firefighters an hour to extinguish the blaze. The King has made his first speech to Commonwealth leaders as a sovereign, addressing climate change and the dangers of social media. His Majesty praised the Pacific Way for tackling the challenges of global warming.
Coming from every corner of the Commonwealth, a kaleidoscope of cultures. King Charles in his element, preparing to address these leaders for the first time as sovereign.
The Commonwealth mattered a great deal to my dear mother, the late Queen.
His Majesty warning of the dangers of social media and artificial intelligence, labelling climate change an existential threat.
Lives, livelihoods and human rights are at risk across the Commonwealth.
The King of the Climate, out planting trees.
Well, perhaps every now and then you can send me a photograph so I can see what's happening to it.
And exploring the King's Garden.
It must be very warm in there.
As Anthony Albanese rejects criticism from Pacific leaders, Australia is not doing enough to combat climate change.
In most parts of the world, with very few exceptions, climate change is above politics.
Meeting regional friends.
Thank you for making the time to come.
And the UK's new Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer.
We've got a good, strong, shared history together.
Out here, connection to Commonwealth is obvious. Pacific leaders relying on old friendships to combat today's climate problems.
This is a family. Together we are wiser, stronger, and more able to respond to the demands of our time.
The Prime Minister leaves Samoa in less than 24 hours. In that time, he's hoping leaders sign the Ocean Declaration, a shared agreement to help lower emissions in a bid to combat the threat of rising sea levels. He'll also meet with the first group of Pacific police that Australia helped train, all part of major moves to help lock China out of this region. Beck.
Isabel Muller reporting live. Thank you. The notorious Menendez brothers could walk free from jail more than 30 years after they murdered their parents. In a bombshell legal twist, US prosecutors now say the siblings have served long enough for their crimes.
Serving life without parole, the Menendez brothers now have a new path to freedom.
I believe that they have paid their debt to society.
Flanked by members of the Menendez family, the Los Angeles District Attorney announced he'll recommend a court re-sentence the brothers with the possibility of immediate parole.
There is no excuse for murder, but I understand also how sometimes people get desperate.
That decision based on new evidence that backs the brothers' long-held claim they shot their parents because their father sexually abused them.
It is a recognition of the abuse my cousins endured.
At the time, prosecutors argued the slayings were driven by greed, the brothers set to inherit millions. The DA today confirming some, even within his own office, still hold that view. A judge will make the final call.
Very, very hopeful that we get them released.
If that happens, they're walking into newfound fame.
Eric and I killed our parents together, so I'd say that makes us pretty close.
A Netflix drama series catapulted their case back into the spotlight. Combined with documentaries, their story is now known around the world. The next chapter to play out in a court hearing expected to take place next month. In Los Angeles, Smiley Hogan, 7 News.
A new tribute to Shane Warne has been unveiled with a stand at Junction Oval renamed in his honour. Warne's family was on hand to celebrate his early career at St Kilda Cricket Club.
For the Warne family, it is bittersweet.
It's just incredible. I just think the sun's shining, so Dad's clearly doesn't want to miss out, so he's here in spirit.
St Kilda Cricket Club told Shane of plans to do this before his death.
And he was genuinely excited by the honour.
Tragically, the red tape of the renaming process took until now. Still,
it's where his senior cricket really launched from, and so he'd be very proud of himself, the same as I am today.
Shane started at St Kilda as a teenager. Even as an international superstar, his Junction Oval passion remained.
He always kept this oval so close to his heart, so this is just seeing his stand, it's going to live on forever.
Also opening here, the first public display of Shane's personal memorabilia.
Yeah, I hope they get out of it that work hard and just be patient and keep your dreams alive.
So now, Shane Warne ovals at his junior club at East Sandringham and his school Mentone Grammar. And Shane Warne stands at the MCG, Hampshire, where he played county cricket, and here.
As he would say, the game's never over till the last ball's bowled, and maybe they'll get some inspiration from those sort of words when they look up at the stand. Let's hope so.
Nick McCallum, 7 News.
Well, David Warner's back in captaincy contention, Abbey. Gelmi, it's come after support from the top.
Well, Bet Cricket Australia has announced big changes to Warner's ban. Theo Dropoulos has the details, and Theo, Warner's back in the captaincy fold.
Well, Abbey, he's set to take the reins of Sydney Thunder. That's after his lifetime leadership ban was lifted. He was aided by character references from current captain Pat Cummins, and a review panel noted Warner's change in behaviour and contrition. The hefty suspension, of course, was handed down in the wake of Australia's sandpaper scandal in South Africa back in 2018. New Zealand star Kane Williamson and current coach Andrew McDonald also supported Warner's quest to return to a leadership position, Abbey.
Thank you, Theo. Also coming up, we're live to Moonee Valley ahead of tomorrow's Cox Plate. Richmond boss opens up to Mitch Cleary on the Tigers' main area of concern. Pat Cummins goes whack, plus the batting collapse you have to see to believe. And we hear from everyone's favourite Bruce McAvaney ahead of a big weekend of racing, Beck.
Absolutely. Thanks, Abs. Well, detectives have smashed open one of Victoria's biggest drug syndicates, arresting 5 Vietnamese nationals. We'll take you inside the bus next. Also ahead on 7 News, a chain reaction of truck crashes leads to traffic mayhem on the Monash. How a teenager convinced one of Australia's biggest music acts to perform at his high school formal after party. And later, Melbourne scientists growing human-like skin to help burns victims. Plus, your one-stop guide to the best supermarket hams for Christmas. A truck crash chain reaction has caused major delays for commuters on the Monash Freeway. Police say the truck failed to stop after colliding with a car in the outbound lanes at Mulgrave just before 6 this morning. A second truck was forced to brake heavily, causing a third truck to rear-end it. The driver of the third truck was taken to hospital with minor injuries. A husband and wife are among 5 people arrested over one of the biggest cannabis hauls in Victorian history. Drug squad detectives pounced on a property in the state's southeast, seizing more than 6,000 plants worth tens of millions of dollars.
In these greenhouses, police say an illicit secret. Thousands of cannabis plants weighing more than 1.7 tonnes.
It is definitely one of the biggest ones that I've seen for some time.
Major drug squad detectives stormed the property on Coonawarra Inverloch Road in Leongatha South on Tuesday morning.
This is a huge, significant impact on the illicit drug activity.
They didn't just find 6,525 cannabis plants with a street value of $26 million. They also found and arrested 4 men and a woman, all Vietnamese nationals.
I believe that one may have their visa expired.
An online listing says the 14-hectare property sold in February this year.
The size and the sophistication behind it, very, very well set up.
Officers pulled the plants out.
Very dirty and smelly job.
And after forensic testing, they were destroyed in a bonfire.
People are obviously sufficient distance and not inadvertently inhaling anything.
The investigation isn't over. Detectives are yet to interview the landowner, but they believe the property was being rented. Paul Dowsley, 7 News.
A teenager in Victoria's northeast has given his mates a night to remember, convincing star music act Peking Duck to play at his school formal after party. The 15-year-old wrote to the DJ duo but never expected to hear back.
A school formal after party with a serving of Peking Duck. The Aussie DJ duo making a rock star appearance at Cathedral College in Wangaratta. Putting on a stellar show for Kai McFan and his classmates last night.
Amazing. Everything and more. It was just sensational. The guys just put on the best show.
The 15-year-old recently wrote to the disc jockeys, never expecting a reply. But after taking the request to social media and getting a huge public response, they gave Kai and his friends a night to remember.
Oh, they were amazing. Yeah, such good fun. Really good guys. Just really vibrant, full of life. Brought so much vibe to the night. It was just excellent.
The DJs from Canberra shot to fame in 2014 with their chart-topping house music. The ARIA award-winning pair is known for taking their raves to unusual places, recently performing at Bunnings in Preston. Begging the question, where will they appear next? Ainsley Kosh, 7 News.
Well, Australia's most controversial Olympian has swapped her green and gold for a glamorous blue to appear on the cover of Stella magazine. In a candid interview, Raygun, otherwise known as Rachel Gunn, opens up about the ridicule she received when she competed at the Paris Games. The new issue comes out on Sunday. Jane Bunn joins us now. Jane, we certainly experienced some changeable weather in Melbourne today, didn't we?
Becca, that is what we're famous for. Downpour 1 minute, sunshine the next. Today lived up to that reputation. After the earlier showers, we had bright sunshine all afternoon. It didn't really warm up though, reaching a top of 15, that is 5 degrees below average. The cold outbreak is now moving away. High pressure is moving in instead. We have a lovely Saturday on the way. I'll have full details after sport. Beck.
Look forward to it. Thank you, Jane. Well, there's been a major police breakthrough over the jewellery smash and grab that sent a shopping centre in Melbourne's north into lockdown. Also ahead, tributes as Bulldogs coach Luke Beveridge deals with a family tragedy. Rock and roll legend Bruce Springsteen delivers an election message to America, and last-minute tips for Melbourne families on how to celebrate Halloween on a budget. A man has been charged for carrying out a destructive smash and grab at a jewellery store in Craigieburn Central. Detectives arrested a 33-year-old Heidelberg Heights man after executing a search warrant charging him with 8 criminal offences. Police are now searching for a second person of interest linked to last week's robbery. Donald Trump is facing fresh allegations he groped a model while also denying he praised Adolf Hitler. The polls across America have tightened, with Kamala Harris reaching for star power to boost her campaign.
Rock legend Bruce Springsteen helping draw tens of thousands to Kamala Harris's rally.
This gun's for hire.
And lining up her rival.
Donald Trump is running to be an American tyrant.
Warming up for Barack Obama.
You got to realize that, like Barack Obama said, a lot of being a man is not what Donald Trump does, putting others down.
I love everything that Vice President Harris has to offer.
For all the star endorsements, a prominent new poll suggests Harris is trailing by 2 points nationally. Donald Trump meeting supporters at a restaurant in Vegas. He denies making positive comments about Adolf Hitler.
I never said that. I would never say that.
Now, new allegations from a former model. The Donald Trump groped her in an encounter she's kept secret since the early 90s.
He put his hands all over my breasts, my waist, my butt.
Tomorrow, the Democrats planning an even bigger rush of entertainment royalty. Harris to appear in Texas with country music legend Willie Nelson and looking for a prized endorsement from a superstar Houston local. Beyonce. In Atlanta, Georgia, Tim Lester, 7 News.
The St Kilda Football Club is leading tributes for legendary recruiter John Beveridge after his death at the age of 85. Beveridge is the father of Bulldogs coach Luke and was credited for drafting champion players including Nick Riewoldt and Brendan Goddard. John Beveridge died last night after a long battle with illness. Halloween is casting its spooky spell over Australian households, with 1 in 5 families embracing the holiday. Supermarkets are rolling out specials, including one perfect for the front door.
Featuring lumps and bumps short of fright and delight, this is the Warty Gnome.
It's an awesome little 500-gram pumpkin that's multiple colours.
Making its devilish debut at selected Coles stores in Queensland, New South Wales and Victoria.
Looking for consumers to have a more affordable way to enjoy Halloween was the main driver of what we've done.
Planted back in January, now nestled in between other festive fruits.
Halloween is really a very popular event now.
The McPauls get involved every year.
The girls love it. They actually wait all year for it and talk about it because...
Why do you like it? Why do you like Halloween?
Because getting dressed up and having
lollies.
Also enjoying the sugar hit, retailers. With $450 million to be spent this year, $93 per person.
I think it's planning for us. So Mel's already got costumes, looking out for specials early on.
Which there are plenty of.
There's 50% off our share packs from great brands like Cadbury, we've got Mars and Kit Kats.
Because we're independently owned, often you'll find in store some fantastic unique products.
As more Aussies embrace Halloween, supermarkets are increasing their spooky stock. The Warty Gnome is flying off the shelves.
It's a great opportunity to support Aussie suppliers.
And be the talk of the trick-or-treat trail. Georgia Holland, 7 News.
Melbourne scientists are toasting a world-first breakthrough growing human-like skin in a lab to help burns victims. Details next on 7 News. Also ahead, a twist in the case of the loved-up couple accused of flooding 2 Melbourne train stations. Your one-stop guide to the best supermarket hams for Christmas. And Eric Bana in full swing for a charity day close to his heart. An amorous couple has been arrested over claims they caused flooding at 2 Melbourne train stations. 7 News understands a water pipe and fire sprinkler at Melbourne Central were damaged while the two were expressing their love for one another. A 30-year-old man was remanded in custody over unrelated matters. A 32-year-old woman was released pending further inquiries. Their actions also caused water damage at nearby Flagstaff Station. There are fresh hopes for a Gaza ceasefire, with US and Israeli officials set to arrive in Doha for peace talks. It will be the first round of negotiations since the killing of Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar, who was seen as a major obstacle in the process.
This is a moment to work to end this war. Israel has accomplished the strategic goals that it set out for itself, effectively dismantling the military organisation of Hamas.
Hamas officials in Egypt have now expressed their readiness to stop the fighting. Painful skin grafts for burns victims could soon be a thing of the past after a world-first breakthrough by Melbourne scientists. They've discovered how to grow skin in a lab from human cells, and transplants are already a huge success.
After 150 years of trying, a breakthrough for patients with critical burns.
The holy grail in burn surgery.
Artificial skin, bioengineered from human cells, grown in a lab.
Take a very small sample of skin, a biopsy.
The technique, pioneered by scientists from the Alfred Hospital and Monash University, replicates the skin's top layers.
We grow those cell populations and put them together with a scaffold to make a mature skin.
Within a month, the tissue grows to 100 times its original size, from that of a coin to a sheet, ready for transplant.
We've treated a child and one adult with the engineered skin.
Within a week, new blood vessels formed and the artificial skin became part of their bodies. It's hoped the procedure will replace traditional skin grafts, which inflict new wounds on injured patients and carry high risk of scarring and infection. The project is currently in phase 1 of the trial, which is funded by a federal grant until 2026. After that, researchers hope to apply for a second grant to learn how to replicate other elements of the skin, including sweat glands and hair follicles.
We've been very impressed with the results in real life.
Christy Mayer, 7 News.
We are still 2 months out from the big day, but shoppers don't need to wait until the festive season for a taste of a Christmas staple. Hams have already hit supermarket shelves, and 7 News is here to help you find the best in both taste and value.
It might only be October, but the major supermarkets can't help but get into the Christmas spirit a little early.
It's never too early to pick up a ham, and that's actually why we launched it so early. We're going to sell about 3 million kilos of hams this year, so we're really proud and excited.
This year, Woolworths, Coles and IGA have all price matched their Australian-made half-leg ham at $8 a kilo, while at Aldi, hams won't hit the shelves until November.
I mean, $8 a kilo is last year's price, and so really important that we hold that. We know that Aussies are doing it tough.
But what about taste?
What you're looking for is just texture and flavour. Also a bit of moisture.
The perfect ham has a great balance of smoke and salt. We smoke it with beechwood, really lovely, beautiful flavour, not too heavy, not too strong.
We've got an amazing process. The guy that looks after our ham has been doing it for 25 years.
That's a nice soft ham, that one.
Tastes like Christmas.
It is at that.
While many of us think of ham as the star of the Christmas show, these hams are much more than a one-day wonder, with many shoppers taking advantage of ham season well before the big day.
Great for that sort of last-minute dinner. We're still in the full swing with the school year. It's great on school lunches.
Oh, you can't beat ham.
Amy Clements, 7 News.
Well, Hollywood heavyweight Eric Bana has joined forces with some of Australia's biggest sporting stars for Mick Fanning's charity golf day at Yarra Yarra. The surfing legend lined up Tiger Tom Lynch, Stephen May and a host of others to help raise money for Cure EB, a foundation dedicated to epidermolysis bullosa, a rare skin condition. Abbey Gelmi's back now with sport. Abbey, Richmond's new boss wants answers.
Well, Becca comes ahead of the most crucial draft in club history. We'll hear from him next. Also, exercising demons, the call to fix friendships coming from a star defender. The finishing touches ahead of tomorrow's Cox Plate. We're straight to Moonee Valley. A history-making batting collapse, 6 ducks among the carnage, and a near miss on the Gold Coast as Olympic royalty hits top speed. Welcome back. Richmond's rebuild is officially underway, beginning with the forensic investigation into the club's injury crisis. The Tigers opening their doors to 7 News and fans ahead of the most crucial draft in punt road history.
A 5-week injury review after Richmond used 42 players this year. External expert David Joyce finding the program needs better structure.
Yeah, clearly we had an unacceptable year from an injury toll this year. It was decimating for us.
So important is draft night, Tigers fans can pay $25 for a punt road viewing party. They hold pick 1, 8 selections inside 24. Trading picks up or into next year among considerations.
All those things are on the table. We're open to all those things at the moment. We're still continuing to develop what our draft strategy is and finalise that in over the coming weeks.
It's really good for us to get older boys, give us a bit of spark up, and we're trying to lead as best we can.
Lynch joining Stephen May on the greens now to get Christian Petrarca and Clayton Oliver on the same page.
If we got those guys on our side, we're every chance of playing finals and competing. So hopefully we've fixed some of those relationships and onwards and upwards.
Speed training for Joe Richards.
Yes. Good.
The Port recruit making a whirlwind jump from Collingwood's VFL.
I got to the end of last year and didn't know where my footy sat and, a few little doubts creep in, but the last 12 months has worked out really well.
Stuck behind Hill and McCreery, he sought more opportunity, but not without a late bid from the coach.
Joey Richards, real smart young player. We're excited for what he can be in Collingwood jumper for years to come.
Yeah, well, at that point I hadn't made a decision yet, so it was, it sort of maybe lean towards Collingwood a little bit more, him saying that.
And Tim Membry is locked in at the Pies. He'll be cut by St Kilda before joining as a delisted free agent. Mitch Cleary, 7 News.
The Tigers women will face the Bombers tomorrow in tomorrow night's inaugural Dreamtime clash in Darwin. It's live and free on 7 May. The Hawks came out on top with a 6-point win over an injury-riddled Melbourne. Defender Mattia Breed with a contender for Mark of the Year. Indigenous round continues tonight with North Melbourne taking on Adelaide. It's on 7 May from 7:30. This time tomorrow, Lucky Connections and punters will be celebrating a Cox Plate win. Kate Massey has the latest from Moonee Valley.
Well, it's one of Victoria's most iconic races, and this year's will not disappoint. It hasn't so far. There's been plenty of drama in the lead-up. I'm joined by jockey Mark Zara. He is riding on Kovalika. How is the horse looking ahead of tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, he's looking okay. I'm on the outside of the field, so, I've got a bit of ground to make up, but I've got obviously the best trainer, one of the best trainers in Chris Waller. So, the horse has been consistent leading up. He's probably got to find a new level tomorrow, but hoping Chris has got something up his sleeve.
And you only found out pretty late that you were on board this horse. Tell us how that played out.
I didn't know how to ride, and then I was just at the Breakfast with the Stars here on Tuesday, and I was about to leave, and then my manager rang me and said, you're riding Kovalika if you want to go up to the barrier draw. I said, it's all right, I'll just see it on the TV. That's about how it worked.
And this would be your first win. You've won pretty much everything else. How special, though, would the Cox Plate be?
Yeah, very special. I mean, like you say, I've won a couple of other big ones in Victoria, so I'd love to add to my mantelpiece. It's the best weight for age race nearly in the world, in my opinion. So small field, good horses, big crowd. It'd be great to win on the day.
Well, thank you for time. Good luck tomorrow.
No worries. Thank you.
And for more, we do have Bruce McAvaney's tips ahead of the Cox Plate.
Australia is going through a racing revolution, but the Cox Plate remains even more strongly the weight for age championship of the country, led by Prognosis from the land of the rising sun, a beast, strong-willed and with a very, very big heart, one to beat. Broadsiding, a 3-year-old, they can be lethal. Don't worry about the Caulfield Guineas. He represents the Cummings dynasty, and Jamie Carr may have her Michelle Payne moment. And then there's Via Sistina, the stumble for her and the tumble for James McDonald on Tuesday. But that 100th Group 1 could not come at a better time for J-Mac if it were to be in the Cox Plate. And then the great rivals, Mr Brightside, second last year, and Pride of Jenny, officially the champion of Australia and without doubt the most popular horse. We know she'll be leading out of the straight and leading into the straight, and the crowd will be behind her. But tomorrow is all about the Cox Plate, because that's truly where legends are made.
One of the biggest scandals in Australian cricket will never be forgotten, but today it was forgiven. For his role in Sandpapergate, David Warne has had his lifetime leadership ban lifted.
This is far bigger than a cricket captaincy role. This is leadership in a lifelong context.
Pat Cummins treating Warner's offer of a test comeback like his first ball for New South Wales at Junction Oval.
I can't remember if he reached out or I did. It's like, what do you think? And I'm like, yeah. Good luck with Thunder this year.
The Blues belted Victoria by 140 runs, but that's nothing compared to what happened at the Wacker. From 2 for 52 against Tasmania, WA lost 8 for 1 to be all out for 53, including 6 ducks. Tassie won with more than 41 overs to spare. And Cam Waters set the pace as the supercars went curb hopping in the opening practice for the Gold Coast 500. Meanwhile, Richie Stanaway nearly ran over his own pit crew.
Brown and Feeney. Stanaway. Oh, nice one. That's not good. Awkward.
It is awkward. Olympic swimming legend Ariane Titmus continued her long lap of honour since the Paris Games with a hot lap in Jamie Whincup's Chevy Corvette. Well, Beck, I'm actually heading to the Cox Plate tomorrow, so I'm very interested for Jane to tell me what the weather's like and what we can expect.
All right, will she do it?
Yes,
worried
let's do
about
it.
the outfits and also the track. Jane, how is it looking for the Cox Plate tomorrow?
Well, Beck, we are heading into an absolutely beautiful day, and in late mail there is a new guidance on the temperature. I'll have more after the break. On tonight's Bright Side, a trio of mini meerkats at Melbourne Zoo. Hello again. Tonight has no cloud to act like a blanket. With light winds, it is a freezing night ahead. This morning had showers passing through. The afternoon had bright sunshine as promised, but it really didn't warm up. We only reached a top of 15. The showers rolled through overnight and this morning going wet, sunny, this time making up into northwestern parts of Melbourne and then clearing at lunchtime. It's not just the temperature that's cold, the wind has bite. It felt like single digits. It was cold enough for snow up in the Alps this morning. This year is Mount Borbor at 8 a.m, all covered in white. Showers continued over the south this morning, not making it north of the ranges where it was fairly sunny. Sunshine increased in the south this afternoon. The remaining low cloud, you can just see it in through there, clears tonight. It was -4 up at Mount Buller earlier. More parts of the state are set for a cold one tonight. Showers, lows and cold fronts, they're all clearing out of the east. High pressure is moving in. Over the weekend, that high here will be moving out to our east as the next weather system approaches. This is how cold it was today, 4 p.m, so the warmest part. Cold greens throughout, blues on the ranges. After a chilly start tomorrow, it gradually warms as the weekend progresses. The far north heads into the 30s. It doesn't last. The next change brings another burst of cold air. Now, this one here is not as powerful as today, but this may last all next week, so enjoy the warmer weekend while we have it. Around the nation tomorrow, Brisbane has showers passing through, 25. Sydney sees the sunshine. Adelaide jumps up 7 degrees warmer than today. It's becoming sunny in Perth. To Victoria, we have widespread late-season frost on a calm, clear and cold night. Patchy fog too, but once it thaws out, it's a lovely day. In light winds and sunshine, it is mild, tending to warm in the north. Wispy high cloud, you saw that thicken late in the day. That stops the frost tomorrow night. Closer in, it is a chilly start. We'll be near freezing in outer suburbs with frost. But once we thaw out, it's absolutely beautiful. Bright sunshine and light winds. I'm expecting 5 in the city at first, quickly warming up in the sun, likely to rise to 22. And cloud at night means it's not as cold. On the 8-day outlook, Sunday reaches 25, but that's ahead of a cool wind change coming through in the afternoon. There's a light bit of rain in there. As we go Monday and right through next week, generally below average temperatures, and there's the odd shower about, particularly on Thursday. But tomorrow, it's a lovely day. Light winds, sunshine, rising to 22 after a chilly start. Now to tonight's bright side. 3 mini meerkats on the prowl at Melbourne Zoo, keeping parents Toto and Malou busy. While Mum and Dad have their paws full, the newborn's older siblings jumped in to share the load, keeping the fur babies warm and fed.
We've had a litter of 2, a litter of 5, and now we've got a litter of 3. So we have 12 meerkats in that enclosure at the moment, so it's just chaos, but the best kind of chaos.
Meerkats are native to southern Africa, traditionally found in grassland and desert. The 2-week-old pups can be now seen at Melbourne Zoo, Beck.
They're quite cute. Thank you very much, Jane. Now for a lighter take on the week's news, here's Mark Humphries.
Donald Trump has done his first honest day's work in his life, serving customers at a McDonald's restaurant this week. And by honest, I mean the customers were Trump supporters pre-screened by the US Secret Service. By day, I mean he scooped fries for a reported 5 minutes. And by serving customers, I mean no one ordered food and received whatever Trump gave them. The one thing he didn't give them, however, was food poisoning.
Never touched by a human hand.
Trump there for the first time bragging about something he didn't grab. His work experience didn't end there, though, as Trump spent 15 minutes manning the drive-through window. And I do mean manning.
What a beautiful woman. It's like the perfect-looking person.
Russian President Vladimir Putin is also fond of window jobs, but he usually gets someone else to do it. Not to be outdone, former Prime Minister Scott Morrison allegedly once did a shift at a McDonald's in Engadine. Sorry, I've misread that. But if scooping fries isn't enough to win Americans over, they'll surely be impressed by Trump's insightful anecdote about golfing legend Arnold Palmer.
He took showers with the other pros. They came out of there, they said, oh my God, that's unbelievable.
Incidentally, an Arnold Palmer is also the name of a non-alcoholic drink, so it's not technically a cocktail, but that story certainly is. Senator Lydia Thorpe declared this week that she pledged allegiance not to the Queen's heirs, but to the Queen's hairs. Okay. Her comments followed her interruption of the King and Queen's visit to Parliament House, where she delivered whatever the opposite of a welcome to country is. Peter Dutton condemned the action, which is unusual because he's usually more chipper. But Senator Thorpe wasn't the only critic who confronted the King this week. Peter Dutton is yet to comment. The royal tour has now ended, but will continue to loom large on some teacups or something. Donald Trump's former Chief of Staff, John Kelly, has called Trump a fascist, causing a dramatic swing in the polls to Kamala Harris in the fantasy land I retreat to in my mind when it all gets too much. The Menendez brothers have been recommended for resentencing over the 1989 murder of their parents following an explosion of interest in the case with the release of a new Netflix series. It's just the latest in a string of TV shows and podcasts sparking real-world implications, meaning we're only days away from F-Boy Island achieving its dream of becoming a republic. That's the 6:57 p.m. news. I'm Mark Humphreys.
And that is 7 News for tonight from the girls. We'll have updates throughout the evening, but for now, please take care and good night.
The 7 News app will give you the news you want every minute of every day, including breaking news alerts. Download the 7 News app now.